Good evening and assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Black Voices of Transformation. I can't tell you how excited I am to see this program come to fruition tonight. I wish I had the words and the talent that these artists have in order to adequately express the beauty of how this has all come together. My name is Sarah Trum, and I am director of a Center of Christian Muslim Engagement for Peace and Justice at Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Together with my colleagues, Romana Manzoor at American Islamic College and Kim Schultz at the Interreligious Institute at Chicago Theological Seminary, we hope that the coming 90 minutes will open your hearts and minds to new ways of thinking and being, to empower you for radical hospitality and meaningful change, and to connect more deeply with Black history and the Black community here and now. We want to thank several other individuals and institutions for their support and inspiration for this program. Young Chicago Authors, Inner City Muslim Action Network, Interfaith Youth Corps, Silk Road Rising, Shakila Hassan, Stephen Stiles, Cherie Green, and then to Amanda Gorman for putting poetry into our country's consciousness in such a powerful way last month. In advance, I wish to give my gratitude, of course, to the activist voices gracing us with their messages of transformation tonight. There's a chat feature where you can type comments and interact with the many people on the Zoom webinar. We will post the artist website links there as well. And after the performances, there will be a time of discussion with the artists to address questions from you. So at any time during the program, you're invited to post your questions in the Q&A feature. I will now turn the mic over to our gracious MC, Sister Taslim Jamila. Taslim is CEO of My Soul Speaks and a healing artist educator. She uses spirituality, culture, and holistic healing as a sacred artist, certified holistic health educator, and a writer. Her body of work focuses on social action, community empowerment, and revitalization, utilizing indigenous sound healing modalities and technology. Her sound is a fusion of poetic soul, spirituals, mystical chants, and empowering lyricism. She is presently completing a graduate program on spirituality, culture, and health. Her knowledge and experience have led her to teach K through 12, university level, and adult classes and workshops worldwide. Thank you so much, Taslim, for leading us through tonight's program.
Wow, thank you so much for actually inviting me to be a part of this event. I am honored and I want to greet everyone with peace, light, and divine love. And I want to send out love to those who are watching and just to say what a blessing it is, even to have an online platform that we can still commune and we can still send energy and love. And I want to take a moment of silence, just a few seconds for those who are lonely, those who may have lost ones in this time, who are grieving, and just to let you know that our hearts are connected. We are all one consciousness, one soul, one heart, and one spirit. And I'm sending you love. Okay, let's take a breath and let's proceed with Black Voices of Transformation, a spoken word event. You are in for a tremendous show in an event tonight, something that hopefully you will talk about. It's definitely going to leave you with some soul food, some nourishment for your level of all your senses, from your third eye all the way to what the hair follicles to your toenails. So relax, enjoy, take it all in, take all in the Black resilience, the Black joy, the Black love for this legendary month that we're focusing in on Black history, which is world history, which is our history collectively. I am going to share a couple of poems with you, and then I'll proceed with a rest of the amazing artists tonight that we have. And my first poem is called We Resilient. They want to see us silent, sleeping, sunken, drunken. They want our spirits blistered, battered, broken, lynched, and choking on years of fears fractured. The clanking, cracking of the chains imprisoning brains, and some remain stained to this day. No longer do we hunger for others' approval. It's the removal of the shackles off our souls. We are righteous, running radicals, rebels. We are resilient love, brilliant love, the fulfillment of eons of expansive light. We are sunlit, cosmic walking miracles, African skylines camouflaged in Babylon's lies. We carry torches with heart purifying energy. We come marching, legs spiraling like deep tree roots embedded in ancient soil, fingers leaking, dripping with our inheritance of enlightenment. We've been battered with backbones shattering for thousands of years. The only silence we seek is the sweet silence of serenity, savoring soul food from saints and sages in nighttime, seeking spirit fire for ammunition. And our actions, well, our actions and voices are still roaring, but with volumes off the pentatonic scales, carrying forces of freedom and hollering hurricanes with whirlwinds as worlds spin from spirit realms so steep. Go deep, lifting up Atlantic Ocean tongues, untangling from algae and seaweed. We see seeds bloom from concrete, providing substance to an entire ecosystem and a system designed to try and redesign, not elevate the divine in our existence as clever mystics. I pray for my ancestors and tongues that we erase and now resurfacing in my genetic coding, holding on to that which was, and new infinite openings, opening to necessary narratives, navigating new, resurrecting our royal, reclamation of our community, renaming, reclaiming, building from Kingston to Kenya, Chicago to Cairo, Detroit to Denmark, Beirut to Brooklyn. So this silence, well, this silence will be so loud with the quantum cosmic karma coming at subatomic particle speed with the force of all oppressed people. My next piece is basically talking about, again, my ancestors, my mission. I've been an artist all of my life, all of my adult life, actor, playwright, poet, and my mission has always been, just like my company is called, for my soul to speak. And may we all find that within us to allow us to speak from the soul. They say she's so passionate, so perfectly present with divine purpose, powerfully packed and potent, persistent on a mission that's masterfully mastered, a masterpiece, a mixture of spiritual power, lyrical showers, and lyrical assassin. Now that's some passion. She be trashing the tragic torment, the tatter-torn souls from psychological war-torn holes. I'm the daughter of Mansa Musa, mind like Franz Fanon, phenomenal like Zora Hurston and them. I study ancient texts like Al-Ghazali, antique artifacts, skilled in the lyrical artifacts. No PhD yet, but I'm so scholarly. That's why sisters holler at me, because they hear me. The angels dwell near me and stem me with knowledge that's so polished that they acknowledge me like I'm college, except I demolish all the lies. I'm so solid and gifted with the scrolls and scripts that's lifted from the ether realm where I take trips so I don't trip on the stagnant stains of planet chips, some slave ships. I'm here to free you, so you'll see you. Because I come from those Southern farmers and Baptist preachers, Chi-town imams, ancient African mystical teachers, psychic mamas, village healers, Sunday pew kneelers, dream catchers when everyone else tried to steal us. Those warrior women who fight with spirit and gun. Those men whose bravery is unparalleled, brighter than the sun. Where grandmama's cooking is conjuring, bringing heaven from hell. Those who got royalty in their sails. I come from those who fly with angels, who see life from every angle. I come from women who put rose quartz under pillows, who convene in sacred sacred circles so generations can still grow. I come from Mississippi and Alabama, Dr. Watts healers who resurrect everybody, they mama and the dealers, who sing freedom songs, who are godlike strong, who transform front porches to become community congregations, kitchens with sacred sanctuary, feeding souls and bellies with jarred jelly and herbal elixirs to fix her after she's broken. From hearts, abortions, distortions, to reclaim her queendom, royal rituals, transformative tinctures with pot plants and soup bones and water bowls and crystal stones, deep pentatonic tones, moaning music with prayer circles and hand claps, made possibilities plentiful with mind crafts and spirit imaginations, watered wombs and shucking corn, healing okra soup, self-governing elder sessions. They listen to prophecy, root connection. We are earth people with anchors us in power that allowed me to fly free. I'm holding freedom in their eyes and hands. They are beauty boomers. The ancients are calling us to grandma's bosoms, to backyards, baking, creating love beyond this realm, to feel a piece of peace, to Sankofa, to spring forth. And we hold on till they pray us whole. They are whole. They pray us whole. Please keep praying us whole. I want to welcome our next amazing artist who I've had the honor of knowing for a very, very, very long time. And his name is Preacher Moss. Preacher Moss's End of Racism comedy and lecture tour, voted 2 times Best Diversity Act on college campuses, is critically acclaimed and recognized as an industry standard for being tough, honest, and brilliantly funny, a voice on the conversation of race, diversity, and understanding in the world. His work is something akin to watching a veteran jazz musician fill in the scales with notes that ultimately make the world smile. His simplicity is the definition of what's right and what matters in life. Comedian, writer, lecturer, Muslim, African American are some of the sum of all his parts. He is a comedian of the times and definitely a comedian of our time. So welcome to our virtual stage, Preacher Moss.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. Let me give a shout out to Sister Tasleem, who always does an amazing job. And she makes me thankful that my mom was not a spoken word artist. I would have never won an argument in our house. You just walked in, you're like, hey, mom, can I get some ice cream? She'd be like, ice cream? Surely you dream. Would I seem like ice cream? No, you can't go. I'd be like, all right, never mind. But I want to welcome everybody to the deep freeze. I know it's cold in Chicago. It's cold where I am. I am thankful to have electricity and water out here in Houston. And it's a big deal for a lot of folks. I know it's cold in Chicago, man. And I'm going to tell everybody where I am in my life before we go so I can explain a little bit. Like, you're going to have a lot of really great, talented spoken word artists. I'm not one of them. I'm a comedian. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you where I am in my life. At 54 years old, I am in active training to be an old grumpy black man. That's what I'm in training to do, to be an old grumpy black man. That's what the world needs. You know why I like old grumpy black men? Because they realize they're close to their time now. So they don't mind telling you exactly how they feel about you. Like for me, man, I've been watching stuff, and this is what we need. You know, we just need plain and simplicity. Like, I'm riding in the car with my daughter. I think I'm raising her up to be some kind of revolutionary. You know, I had her watch the Fred Hampton film, and I'm trying to raise her up, but it almost got me killed because kids think differently. I'm like, yo, I'm riding down the street. This is what happened, brothers and sisters. Pay attention. That's some old black men say. Pay attention because it takes too much energy to do it twice. Riding down the street, I get pulled over by a policeman. Now, I know the routine. I've seen the news. I got my hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2. I'm telling her, make sure your seatbelt is on. The officer comes up and they always ask you a question. You know, I pulled you over. In my inside voice, I said, because I'm a good looking black man with hope, but I couldn't say that. I said, yeah, well, Your Honor, I don't. I said, sir, I don't know. And he says, and this is a new one for me. Keep in mind, I've been black a long time, brothers and sisters. The officer actually goes, the reason I pulled you over because you were texting and driving. I'm thinking dope, guns, speeding. You know, this one is a new one. I'm doing a double take. My daughter is like, I never heard that before. I said, excuse me, sir. He said, I pulled you over because you were texting and driving. Immediately, I channel my inner Malcolm. I'm like, sir, you're wrong. He said, no, sir, I saw you. You were texting and driving. I said, no, I wasn't. Yes, you were. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were. We get into this huge beef. And my daughter, alhamdulillah, she just jumped in like no invitation. She just jumped. She goes, Mr. Officer, you are wrong. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, my daddy was not texting and driving. I was like, tell him, girl, tell him. She goes, nuh-uh. She goes, my dad was not texting and driving. I was like, yeah. She goes, mm-mm. He was reading his emails. I was like, the girl, you just like your mama. This is ridiculous. And I'm telling people, man, you know, this cold spell that's hit Texas and in the South. And I'm going to tell y'all something, people. This is a conspiracy. We have these weather events. The weather events happen, but how people respond to the weather events, it's a conspiracy. Because I believe, brothers and sisters, that they're trying to see how gullible we are. Like, are we stupid? Have you really ever looked at a weather forecast? Like, I'm going to tell you something. When I was growing up, you didn't have 24-hour weather. You didn't. Weather was real short. They'd be like, here on Action News, we're going to find out how the weather is in Washington, D.C. How's it going, Bob? How's the weather? He's like, good. Thank you, Bob. Now they got 24-hour weather. And I mean, listen, I'm an old black man. Look, here's the thing. If the weather is cold at 1 o'clock, it's a chance the weather's going to be cold at 2 o'clock. That's all I'm saying, right? But they dress it up. They give you too much information. I don't know about barometer. I don't know about dew point. Show me a man in Chicago that knows the meaning of dew point. Hey, man, you get dew point. No, not lately, man. They talk about dew point like it's blood pressure. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting here, I'm watching the news, and I realized something, brothers and sisters. They think we're stupid. They think we're stupid. And I'm telling everybody that's watching this, I'm not lying. They do. Watch a weather forecast and let you know how they think about you. They no longer give you the weather anymore. You can't figure it out. You know what? You ask old black man on a cold day when it's 15 degrees below zero, you don't have to tell him the way. He's going to figure out at some point in time of the day. He's going to open the door. The wind's going to hit him. I'm going back in the house. That's the way it is. Not now, though. We're like gullible. 24-hour weather. Brothers and sisters, it's scary because they no longer give you the weather anymore. What they do is they give you the weather and then they tell you what it feels like. They give you the weather and they tell you what it feels like. I was in Houston last summer. It was 104 degrees. The guy comes on, he goes, here in Houston, it's 104 degrees. Feels like 104 degrees. I know what 104 degrees feels like. It's like hell, man. What are you talking about? And then like somebody went to school, got their BA, their master's, and a PhD just to be able to officially tell you how it feels. I took some Robitussin on an empty stomach one time, fell asleep in front of a weather forecast. I felt like the weather for the feel like guy was a real guy. Like there was a real guy. They're like, to find out how the weather is in Houston, let's go out to Bob. Bob's butt naked on a block of ice. Bob, how's it feel? Like, I feel like I can't have more kids, Joe. Back to you. And that's my point. And kids are smart. Kids are smart. You know what I liked about remote learning? Remote learning, for a lot of parents, lets you know that you should have studied harder. Hey, I want to do a look of every parent whose kid asked them something that didn't know. Hey, Daddy, can you help me with physics? That's a legitimate one. Hey, Daddy, I have calculus homework. Can you help? That is the thing. And don't worry, but I used to be a school teacher. Don't worry, I didn't teach your kids. Look at the people. Alhamdulillah. That's why the kids can't read. Yo, I used to be a school teacher, but I knew when to get out. I knew when to get out. And I'm going to leave you guys with this because we got so much talent. I knew when to get out. I had a classroom full of kids that came in the first day of school. I was talking like Joe Clark from Lean on Me. Everybody sit down and shut up. I was like, today we're going to talk about space in the solar system, space and the solar system. But before we get started, I want to know who's the first black man in space. Little Booger raised his hand and said, Darth Vader. I was like, oh, hell, I'm too late. All right. Listen, you guys have been for tremendous. Enjoy the rest of the show. And hey, continue to support Black transformations and just continue to support people taking care of one another. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. I'm Preacher Mars. Thank you guys so much. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. That was hilarious talking about, you're right, the weather. I don't know how they do it to tell. They just like, it's gonna be some weather today. So yeah, because it's, who would have ever known in Texas? So I want to first, before we proceed, is to talk and we'll give thanks for our supporters and our sponsors. Our supporters are the Inner City Muslim Action Network, Young Chicago Authors, and Silk Road Rising. And our sponsors, a Center of Christian Muslim Engagement for Peace and Justice, American Islamic College, and Interreligious Institute, Chicago Theological Seminary. Our next artist is a young, amazing poet, someone I just actually had the privilege of discovering. So just listening to her work, even online, you are in for some powerful words and energy. Adara Hell is a born and raised Chicago, South Side Chicagoan. Yes, she identifies as a poet, a writer, and a business owner. She is an adamant supporter of community work, activist work, and the arts. Her accolades include being an Indie finalist in the 2019 Louder Than a Bomb and has performed at festivals such as Pitchfork and I Heart Halal. So let's welcome this young, dynamic, powerful poet to our virtual stage. Welcome, Adara Hell.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to perform two pieces for you today. And the first piece is titled Thunderstorms. Thank you for being here. I am not afraid to say that I am a storm chaser, consistently finding intimacy within a wreckage, hunting for admiration within destruction, appreciation within carnage. I am told that this is related to my childhood trauma, and I find myself reliving my first thunderstorm whenever I wink at the sun. Anchoring myself to the bottom of a backhanded compliment and sinking while holding hands with gravity, trying to find security in the linkage of broken bonds and pinky promises, hoping their loopholes will float enough to create a life jacket. I know exactly how it feels to wait for the other shoe to drop, then for every other shoe to drop, shooting myself from each left side of each of my only pair of shoes, always having a right side to stand on. So I have to sacrifice bare flesh to be on the wrong one. Life always balancing with taking a pound of skin. I wonder if this is where all my pounds went, seeing a trend in shrinking miraculously. My only stronghold against the Windy City or murder capital, fighting angry skies or angry people, used to fighting because every day gives them a reason to be angry, collecting war wounds like pocket change, and I've never not heard a jingle. This is what starts a thunderstorm. In a vortex of violence breeding violence, how is one supposed to unexemplify the ruthlessness that made her? And why is it so hard to understand that this is the way a cycle truly works? History doesn't repeat itself for fun. This is my first time seeing the archaicness of a circle, forever winding in a do-over. So imagine a vortex, the eye of a thunderstorm. How does one find a corner to hide in a sphere? This is me making my trauma sound pretty. Why should battered bodies be convenient? Is this what twisted is and how twisted be? Are scars supposed to make you feel beautiful, like trophies for pain, badges for baggage? How could you expect this to be shallow? For wounds great enough to leave a scar to not be deep? Playing dress up and ripped band-aids in the healing process, masquerading as seasoned, pretending losing consistently makes you feel less lost, and a lack of occupancy gives you more maturity, as if living less makes you feel more. I wrote today because I needed to write, and maybe that means I needed to share. If you listen hard enough, you can hear my vowels cry, and I wonder how many people feel like my vowels every time I write a poem. Afraid to be expressive, scared of a life as helpless as a natural disaster, but always ready for just a thunderstorm. I wonder if that is what it means to be a storm chaser. Thank you. That was my first piece. My second piece is called The Absolutely True Diary of an Undercover Muslim. I live my life in the crook of intersectionality. They call me triple threat. They play Jeopardy in my irreversible misery. I'll take mass incarceration for 500. What is being Black? Murder for saying no for 300. What is being a woman? Menace to society in all countries for 400. What is being Muslim? And these are a few of my favorite things about myself. I am used to walking around feeling like a spy. Every time someone says grace at a table, I become a double agent, whispering prayers to Allah. Right after saying Amen, the table instantly assumes I now have a license to kill, labeling me 007, also known as Islamic. Breaking bonds quicker than the number of people being killed right now during the 3 minutes of this poem for wearing a hijab. Every day I see on the news that we are a threat. I hear on the bus that we cannot be trusted. I sit in a desk and feel the hatred of discourse in asylum. Why is everybody pretending that we don't need help? Even school zones are protected from Islamophobic bullets. A reminder why I don't wear my hijab or answer religious purposes questions on a survey that come with targets. And for saying this now, I now know that I have a few. Just because I don't share when I'm with you doesn't mean it's not there, and doesn't mean it isn't always invisibly trained in my head. I know there's a sniper within every American people. And there's nothing more disrespectful than the disrespect someone gives you when they don't know who you are or where you pray. Demonizes anything other than people. It's hard to act normal when someone is surprised that I could be Muslim. Like being Black and woman isn't hard enough. Try being beaten and abused because of your faith as well. White people hate hearing me greet my sisters with Assalamu alaikum. I've never heard a greeting change room such as when spoken in Arabic, they call it terrorist tongues. My scenario is where we trade our dialects, code switching our blessings, surrounded by gates to keep the spirit safe. Every time I go in, I'm scanned and checked. And every time I go in, I think of how I can just walk into a church. No worries of threats or bombs or guns. It's the respect for their religion, a sacred rule of their faith. Unless that church is in Birmingham or Charleston. Somehow a Black body devalues the word of God. Imagine how scary it is when you know you call your God Allah and you are just as Black as they were. It's hard to see the normalized genocide of Islamic people. Let me take a minute to talk about my concentration camp in China. Let me take a minute to talk about my tragic death. And let me take grace at the table for 200. What is in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful. All praise due to Allah, the Lord of all worlds. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
That was so powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. Give it up. Showing so much love in the chat. I know you all see it from both our artists that we just had. So I'm loving it. Amazing words. We're going to keep the energy flowing and going with our next powerful artist. And I know you're enjoying this. Are you all enjoying it? I see the hand claps and snaps. Show some love. Our next artist is Edward Wilson, stage name Obi West, is a native of Los Angeles, a retiree from the United States Army. Aside from serving his country, he is an international spoken word artist, an advocate and author of a poetry book entitled Blossom. Obi's life with poetry began in 2011 in Killeen, Texas, under the tutoring of the Killeen Poetry Slam and has thrived ever since. He travels the world as a guest speaker, presenting life, depicting poetry on a variety of topics. So let's give him all the love that we can give, because he's going to bring some amazing energy and words to our virtual stage. Let's give it up for Obi West.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Your entire living quarters has been lit with gas. Every room filled with fumes, hence half the time you feel insane. Your residence reeks with sense of psychological warfare, and your attacker has employed a tactic that makes you feel liable for their actions. Cleverly calculated interaction has been used to lessen your confidence in your own cognition, and convincing has been used to mentally fence you in because you're less likely to build a defense if you feel like you're part of the problem. See, it's a magic show. It's all trickery. Your perpetrator wears manipulation like a badge of honor, and you wear guilt like a straitjacket. Self-blame became the bane of your existence, and societal ignorance isn't assisting. But despite the toxic consensus, I still insist that it isn't your fault. Arguments shouldn't be punishable by face punches, nor should you be pummeled for having a point of view, or made to feel like your entire being is just a trigger for mistreatment. It's midsummer and you've been spending cold nights skating on thin ice. Constant adultery accusations have been used to isolate you. So you remain home to remedy the harassment. You sever ties with your support system. Now your silence has become your only map to safety. Either you shut up or get beat up. One morning, you woke up and found yourself trapped in the mandibles of a masterful level of manipulation. And sadly, it's all strategy. There's a science to this, but still I insist that it isn't your fault. Your abuser seeks to confuse you through the use of terms like, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. These are claims that are used to incriminate you. And then your guilt forces you to accept the charge like your living quarters is a court of law, but still I insist that it isn't your fault. Do not allow the violation of a set of tyrannical rules be used to justify your abuse. And to the man who is afraid to raise his hand and seek assistance because society has said to you, you're a man and you can't be abused, I also say to you that it isn't your fault. And you stayed. You stayed because you were told leaving would render you a deadbeat. You wouldn't be caught dead being a bad dad, so you accepted the abuse. And she knows that your moral posture will not allow you to mount a defense. So she keeps launching punches while you're dodging her fists. And you're afraid that law enforcement won't enforce the law if a man made the call. So you remained silent and endured domestic violence. Matter of fact, you didn't even call it domestic violence because you're dang near twice her size. So now you're questioning if your claim is legitimate due to the difference in physical strength. To you, who is he? The term abuse is not justified by your ability to withstand blows. Just because her little hand doesn't hurt much to you does not exonerate her from assaulting you. Abuse is not gender specific, nor should your gender be exempt from justice. The purpose of this poem is to emphasize to anyone who is dealing with abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's verbal abuse, that it isn't your fault. If I'm sitting inside of a car and I'm at a red light and a car drives up in the back of me and the person behind me is texting, they're not paying attention, they slam into the back of my car, I guarantee you I'm going to get out. I'm going to call my insurance company. I'm calling the police. I'm asking for insurance. I'm asking for a driver's license, all these things, because I want reparations. I want my car fixed, right? But if I'm the person in the rear vehicle and I'm texting and I'm not paying attention, I slam into the back of someone else's car, I'm probably going to jump out with a whole different attitude. I'm docile. I'm apologetic. If they don't call the police, I'm not going to call the police. If they don't get insurance involved, I'm not going to get insurance involved. The point is, whenever you think something is your fault, you're less likely to go get help for that thing. No different than a prison sentence. If I'm sitting in court because I've committed a crime and I know I'm wrong and they convict me, I'm less likely to be susceptible or be receptive to that punishment because I know I was wrong. But if you try to charge me for a crime and I know I did nothing wrong, the level of fight is going to be incomparable. Whenever we accept the fact that we have done nothing wrong and we don't deserve the punishment that we're receiving, our level of fight becomes absolutely incomparable. A lot of times people accept punishment because of embarrassment, right? We have this person, during a honeymoon phase, we've glorified this person. We developed an image of how beautiful this person is. We've painted this beautiful image to our family. This person is everything we ever wanted. So when they become a monster, we're a little hesitant to go tell our family, hey, I was wrong. He or she is now a monster. We want to still hold on to that beautiful image that we had of the person beforehand. So as a result, we blame ourselves. That allows us to hold on to that image, that that person is as beautiful as we thought. It also creates a false sense of security, a false sense of control. If I feel like the only reason that he or she reacted that way is because I did this thing. I made them mad, so I did this. If I wouldn't have did this, they wouldn't have done that. So what we're doing is convincing ourselves that we have control over the abuse. And all we have to do is change our behavior and abuse will stop. It's not right. An abusive person is an abusive person. Every relationship is going to have ups and downs. And every time there's a down, it shouldn't equate to abuse. So if you take nothing else from my portion of this presentation, just understand that no level of abuse is your fault. And I appreciate you all. Thank you much for listening.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
So powerful. We see the love in the
Thank you.
chat. Your message, someone needed to hear that. Very necessary, very powerful to talk about those things that may have been pushed under the rug, to go there in that vulnerable space. Powerful storyteller are some of the words that I'm seeing here. Powerful message, deep poem. So thank you again, Obi, for that powerful message. We're going to keep the energy going. This next poet is someone I feel grateful to have discovered. And so admirer of his work, coming with some power and some force. And I saw the setup, so it might like push me back like this. So you're in for Jason Williams. Is a Chicago native who has graced the stage of the Windy City with unique style and flair. He is currently a student at the Lutheran School of Theology en route to ordination as a teen candidate. He is indeed one of the great minds and voices that make the spoken word a joy to witness. And you're going to witness all of this Black joy. Let's welcome powerful spoken word artist, Jason Williams.
This be the skin I was born in. No options, no warning. Like God dipped me in chocolate, put hope in my pocket and said, Black, the race you join in. I wonder what he was thinking that morning, that my name would make his to-do list. Foolish to think that I would be anything less than great. I'm a Black man with Black feet and Black hands. Got a Black grandmama, Black dad. They want to convince me, though, that Black's bad. Now, that's sad, and even more so unfamiliar. Last thing I knew bad and Black was Michael Jackson in Thriller. Maybe even Muhammad Ali with his gloves on, getting his thug on against Foreman in Manila. But other than that, the ridiculous fact is that we not all killers and drug dealers. Sick of being reduced to fish fries and chicken dinners, scared to wear my hoodie with swag because a cop with a badge might kill us for just once. I wish they get to know the real us. See the promise in this brown shade. I never viewed it as a downgrade, but a crown laid upon a few of the chosen, the broken. 4,000 of my people left for dead in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. I know it's thought-provoking, but I became. Like my checker made it to your side of the board, but they won't report. Choose to ignore that I be so much more than some rim spinning Timberland purchaser. Fam, I be nurturer. My family backbone with a fitted cap on, 100% pure man, no mask on. I be a god in Robin jeans, soul dipped in collard greens. I be the peace that calmest things. I fall asleep to the bombest dreams, and I wonder how we made it on those slave ships from Africa. Broken down and beaten by average men we were forced to call master. I figure it had to be a miracle for just an old Negro spiritual to motivate the Black man in the midst of constant backhands and brutal beatings where the slave whips passed from one hand to the next man. I wonder how that cotton-filled sun was even bearable. Wish I could tell it to you smooth like Jesus in a parable, but this is hardcore, and my heart pours pity for all my fallen heroes. for the ones who bled and died in the field and wasn't house Negroes. I wrote this for every Black that had to drink from a separate fountain, for the ones that didn't receive the recognition of Malcolm, but was still counting every lash of the whip, family that was split, nail that was bit from fear, vicious moans of their raped wives could be heard crystal clear. I swear, I wonder how you made it. Sister, I wonder how you taught yourself to read and write, along with the burden of the kids you had to feed at night, not to mention that the master had a nasty appetite for sex. Love the way your broken brown body moved in that maid's dress. God bless your soul, because I sure don't know how you make it. So we're gonna pour libation till we get reparation for every year. I'm talking about for every tear, for every lynching action. So many folks want me to chalk it up and forget it happened. Talking about look how far we've come, stick to sports and rapping, but I can't. It's too much at stake. I mean, I walked the path of too many greats who done left their mark in these yet to be United States, and I'm in a sour mood. Because every time I mention slavery, I gotta hear comments on Hitler and the Jews, as if the comparison of the struggle is supposed to heal my wounds, and all I know is that it was for my freedom that Kunta got his feet cut. So while I feel for the Jews tonight, it's just for my people that I speak up, but since vengeance ain't mine and these are just the lines of a poem, I'm gonna try to move on. Thank you.
Yes, amazing, powerful. I'm reading some of the comments. Somebody said, that's my baby brother. Powerful words. Wow. I knew I would be blown away with that energy. So I said, dope. Minister Jason, yes, I'm loving this. I can't wait till the question and answer. We're going to keep this energy going. I guess we had to bring the two Fire Force Master lyricists, another one up next, who I've had the pleasure of viewing her when I first saw her years ago on the Chicago poetry scene. And she was just always had this fierce energy and humble spirit, even from the beginning. And then fast forward years later, just seeing her blossom into this incredible force, vulnerable, passionate poet, humanitarian, and leader. K Love, the internationally renowned spoken word artist, author, and motivational speaker, emphatically speaks to the human experience, courageously addressing hard truth with candid humor and classic sass. The sincere vulnerability in her content, mixed with elite lyricism and soul-stirring delivery, has been known to leave audiences of all kinds on their feet and in their feelings. And she will leave you on your feet and in your feelings. Let's give it up. She's going to give you some nourishment from the soul, sending her so much love in this time. My powerful sister, the amazing, masterful lyricist, K Love.
Peace and blessings. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I bring you guys greetings. Much respect to all the performers that came before me. I love y'all. Some of y'all I know, some of y'all I just met. My name is K Love, the poet, and thinking about Black Voices of Transformation, I thought about what I wanted to do. One of the things that I pride myself on, my brand of a person, my brand of poetry is transparency and vulnerability, as the sister said in the intro. So I want to give y'all full transparency and vulnerability. 2 days ago, my superhero, my father, transitioned. It was unexpected. It was something that I had nightmares about experiencing in my life. And just 2 days ago, my father transitioned. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I want to be honest and I want to honor my father. And I am so happy that I got an opportunity to honor my father in life. This particular poem that I'm going to do about my father, this is not one of those poems that, man, I wish I would have told him this. I did this poem looking him right in his face, tears coming down his eyes. And so I'm happy to share that. I'm happy to honor him in that type of way. I'm happy to have this art form that allows me to be that type of vulnerable and honor him in that way. also changing the narrative about the stereotypes concerning Blacks and Black families. I come from a two-parent household. My parents were married for 41 years, and my father was absolutely a superhero to me. So I just want to share you guys, I want to share with you guys some of that superhero power. Cool. I kept this piece stored in the vault of my heart because it was too hard to articulate it. I couldn't conjure any clever, creative ways to say it, no lyrical lines. It's like my lyrics would hide every time I thought about it. Ridiculous rhyme schemes ran away. I guess they knew I never loved a man this way, so what could they really say? All my past love poems posed green with envy. Every pen I picked up all of a sudden went empty. Every page left every pad I ever had. See what you do to me, Dad? See what you do? I tried, but I couldn't find a simile sweeter than you. No metaphor to mess with your force in my life. And I'm not one for forcing what I write, but thoughts of my feelings for you intimidate my art form. How do I begin to start a poem for the only man I've ever felt truly loved me the way that I love? And the weight of our love weighs heavy on my soul, Dad. And I'm so glad to give you these flowers while you could still sense the scent. I reminisce. It was you. Taught me how to count when I was 2, but as long as I could remember, I could always count on you. You taught me how to step when I was 4, but never half stepped though. You remember when I had strep throat, you kept close, ready to take on anything that ever ailed me. Remember when you used to tell me, I still love you, crybaby. Yeah, I love you too, Daddy. Always had my front and my back, so I never lacked, sort of like I had 2 daddies. I flashed back, it was you, Daddy. Me on your back, backpack on mine, rushing out the house to catch the kindergarten bus on time. I remember my daddy brushing my hair in a ponytail to the side with way too much hair grease. I remember when Freddy Krueger used to scare me and you tell me, baby, it's just a movie. And all of a sudden, the scenes didn't seem like nothing. I remember watching In Living Color, playing the dozens against my mom and brother, untraditional family rituals that kept us strong, tougher than the callous. I remember Daddy being like, why don't you go downstairs and make me a glass of milk and a few peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? But most importantly, I remember my daddy being there for every triumph and every challenge. Disappointing you was the only thing I ever feared. So you don't know how it felt to see my daddy, the only man in the crowd, every time I cheered. You remember when I accidentally made the basketball team? Knew I had no game on the court, but just knowing that I had your support made me feel like I could do anything. I made 1 shot the whole year, and that was for the other team. That's a true story, y'all. 1 shot the whole year for the other team, but I still left your MVP, Daddy. You remember when I lost my virginity? I thought it'd make you real mad. I thought that it would kill, Dad, but you never wanted me to feel bad, and I love you for it. Flash forward. You make it hard for a brother to come at me, unless he's a thoroughbred. You taught me never to be impressed with a man's thoroughbred, but more like his pledge to being a man, Daddy. You always understand. Sometimes the only one that seems to get me. I'm just like you. I got your genes and I love the way they fit me. You're at my side like a kidney. And just to assure that you always stay with me, I've decided that if I ever have a child and it's a son, I'm gonna name him Kenny. It's only fitting he be named after a king like you. So hopefully he could emulate some of that great I've seen in you. You powered through all your obstacles. You even beat addiction, mission impossible, but not for you, Daddy. Master of everything you do and everything you touch. You're the reason why I dream so much and I spit with a magnum force. You passed the torch, so it's a must I share your love. Just like that song they never gave you credit for. Daddy, I hope you caught the metaphor. I wrote this poem for every song you ever wrote that the world never heard. I injected your dreams in my bloodstream, so all of your music is reborn in the form of spoken word. Your baby girl got you. After all, you always had me. I love the way you helped, but never handicapped me. I could diagnose a car and change a tire, and stilettos with ease. You're cooler than the breeze. Patrick Swayze in that Dirty Dancing movie. I want to rename you U-Haul because I don't know a man nor a van that can move me like you. And other brothers tried to, but they fell ugly. Cupid couldn't hug me the way that you hug me. Kids' clothes couldn't touch me the way that you touch me. And even though I'm all grown up, you're still my knight in shining armor, my father, my friend. A million men couldn't mock him. My rock wind, rocky winds blow. When friends go, when men don't show, my father's still my father. But you're still my son, though. And I thank God for every day of your shine. Superman, Tiger Woods, and Einstein in my eyes, and that'll never change. Thank you for everything you've been, Daddy. But most importantly, thank you for being there every time I called your name. Rest in peace, my dad.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So heartfelt, always so vulnerable. Her name is perfect for her, K Love, because she gives you love, whether it's hard love that makes you want to go and be a better person, or just to be vulnerable. Let's show people are showing you so much love, K Love. They say in my feels, powerful, moving, vulnerable. What a tribute to your father. We're sending you love, 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 K Love, for all that you do and all the love that you give. We're going to keep the energy going. And this is someone who I've been knowing for some years. And of course, I love her family, her legacy, her father, Oscar Brown Jr., one of the most amazing writers, poets, artists, activists of all times. And it shines through with her energy and also just her family. This is Maggie Brown. Is a tremendously talented singer, producer, and performer, using all of her gifts to not only entertain, but educate as well. Mother of 3 sons, Maggie sees the need to use the arts to make an impact on young lives with a message that fosters care and respect for words, history, music, and life. Utilizing her songwriting and performance skills, Maggie Brown employs her own jazz music royalty and legacy to help educate in a way that seeks to encourage a greater regard for the power of music, words, and the resilience of the human spirit. I can tell you in for some amazing words, song. She is multi-dimensional, multi-talented, and what comes from the heart, it's going to go directly to your heart. So let's give it up for the tremendous talent and giant and beautiful soul, Maggie Brown.
Hey, it's me hugging you. Thank you so much, Slim. Thank you. You've been doing a wonderful job bringing us through this wonderful evening. And so it's good to be seen because I can't exactly see everybody, but I'm glad to know you're out there. And as I was watching, I was like, oh no, watch me have to come on right after K-Love does what she just had to do. And I know she had to do it because when you tight with your daddy like that, there's nothing to do if you're going to go on with the show as we have been taught to do. You got to go on with the show, but you also, what's the show? It's not really a show. It's about a show of yourself. And that's what she did. And so I'm switching up kind of what I had planned because I know what it's like to be so into the pops like you and to really appreciate him and what he gave you and what he's now leaving with you, you know. And so I lost my mom at a very early age, tender age of 18. And I had heard this song that I had memorized, and it was for your dad, but I would always put my mom's name in it because I had lost her, and I, you know, interjected it, you know, my feelings. So anyway, I just had to sing this because of what today is, a couple days since your dad made his transition, Brother Kenny. Yeah, rest in heaven so peacefully and watch over our dear sister. Yeah. But it says, please somebody hold my hand. I'm scared feel real shaky. Please, somebody understand. I just now lost my daddy. Daddy said goodbye today. I miss him so already. I love mommy very much, but mommies can't be daddy. Might have been on a Chuck Mangione album. Made me look it up. I don't think it was Sergio. I think it was Chuck Mangione when I was little that came out. But Black Voices of Transformation have been very strong this evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I've worked with the Blue Gargoyle at University Church. And I was inspired one year because I saw some kids looking at my kids. They didn't know I was looking at them, but they were looking at my kids with this despise and they didn't even know them. And I just thought about how horrible it is that, you know, when we start out as little babies, we were all like, ooh, another little person, like, ooh, hey, who are you? How are you? We're going up to them and we're just, you know, loving on them. But somehow we grow up and something hardens us, you know, and makes us just look with this disdain. So I wanted to put a little message out. One year we were working with the Halloween group and I said, I got a fantasy. It includes you and me. I fantasize we get together, make the world free, free from things that separate, free to love, free of hate, free from the need to be filled with hostility. My fantasy has us keeping happy company, focusing on what we like, on what we have in common, untangling the strings like we hooking up some ramen. Then we're gonna serve it up to one another. Everybody doing what's best for each other. I know I sound crazy, like everyone could love their brother. I said I had a fantasy. You could say I'm scheming. They say all things start with a thought. So I'm gonna keep on dreaming. Little India IRI. She's gonna help me out. Oh, excuse me. I was so frustrated. And look, the internet. Today, are you in Chicago, Illinois? Paying a lot for Xfinity? But still, I know exactly what you're thinking. Had those thoughts a million times. I can see the questions coming over you, looking for your peace of mind. Listen up to this truth. You are me and I am you. Every one of us is worthy. Baby, girl, worthy woman. Every one of us is worthy. I know your life, I know your pain. I know your joy, I know your shame. Sometimes it feels like life walks over you, like you're a penny on the ground. But either on the ground or in your purse, every life still has its worth. Every one of us is worthy. Baby, girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby, boy, worthy man, son, every one of us is worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of life, worthy of saying no when something don't feel right. This is a song for you, for all the ups and downs that life has put you through. Oh, listen up to this truth. You are me and I am you. Every one of us is worthy. Baby, girl, worthy woman. Every one of us is worthy. Baby, boy, worthy man, son, every one of us is worthy. Baby, girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby, girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Every one of us is worthy. Too. Every one of us is worthy. Each and every one.
Hi guys, Sam here.
Ooh.
If you like what I do,
Yes, yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
There's
Woohoo.
so much love. And I receive that. I am worthy. Yes, everyone is worthy. Such powerful,
Everyone.
soulful voice and words in the tribute that you
Mhm.
did in the beginning, that song, that just goes to show you where your heart is as an artist. It's not about just coming in to, like you said, to entertain, but you connected with the moment and how you did that.
You have to.
And
You
that
have to. Yeah.
beautiful. Yes,
Mhm.
heartfelt and beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Keep the faith.
Yes. Our last performer for the night. And then after that, we're going to go into our question and answer. But another powerful, amazing. Are you all enjoying yourself, first of all, before I just keep going? Are you all enjoying yourself?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm loving the energy. I know you are feeling this. And I hope that you're feeling this love. And I hope you're feeling and really listening to the words. And people are really giving of their souls. Even on online platforms, we are still blessed to connect. And energy transcends all of that. And so I hope you're receiving this. And we're going to continue to show some love for our last performer, leader, community leader, pastor, spiritual leader. I mean, isn't everybody amazing and just multi-dimensional tonight? And this is another multi-dimensional, multi-talented, and multi-giving being. As a national speaker, advocate, and MC, Jay Quest is also an Emmy award-winning hip-hop musician, the Chicago native and graduate of Morehouse College and the University of Chicago, is also pastor of University Church, a sanctuary community active on the south side of Chicago. He serves as the inaugural chair of the Community Advisory Council for University of Chicago Medicine, as associate director of the Office of Experiential Education at McCormick Theological Seminary. Let's show this dynamic Emmy Award winning artist, pastor extraordinaire some love. Jay Quest.
All right.
Thank you, sister. I'm gonna close this out. Try to. It's been an amazing evening. So let me get right into it. This piece is called Soaphead. And if you know, the name Soaphead is a character in The Bluest Eye, a book that stayed with me since I read it as a child. And there's a quote that I just cannot get out of my body. We mistook violence for passion, indolence for leisure, recklessness for freedom. We mistook violence for passion, indolence for leisure, recklessness for freedom, blue eyes for kingdom. The Portuguese found Cape Verde uncovered, the only thing Europeans ever truly discovered. The furthest they had been, this the bottom of the world for them, the continent. They had barely seen a third. But this, good friends, is how ignorance works. They turned back around, gave a map to the church, said if we went back, this could all be ours. So Spain went west, cause they couldn't go south. When Nas said the world is yours, he meant something. You take it, cause ain't nobody gonna give nothing. Colombo took the West Indies, he didn't care that it was already people living there. And thus begins the most dangerous strategy. They start playing chess on a checkerboard battlefield. Remind me of a boy on my block who stole shoes. Maybe he was bored or his feet just grew. When the neighbors finally caught him, said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "I had to because God told me to." I'm skipping timelines, but it might just work because that's the same thing said by the Catholic Church. They took everything, split it up between different countries and said the Bible said these people was monkeys. Mistakes that we make. Violence for passion, indolence for leisure, recklessness for freedom. Blue eyes sitting on the throne of the kingdom. Black skin mean unholy. Let us clean them. Back then you was either white or a heathen. Black skin mean not right. Let us sing to God. Let us all baptize. Put his face in the water. If he drowns, he drowns. That's a sign from God. He don't want his kind. They were built to work. They don't want his mind. They were born to grind. If they had a soul, then how come they slaves? It was them who sold. They were made to push. If you know, you know. Let us strip they names. Let us ban they gods. No Yoruba, Ile, Ife, no Islam. They could read the Bible, but take Exodus out. When they sing their songs, we will shut their mouths. The mistakes we make. Violence for passion, indolence, leisure. This ain't freedom, this is recklessness. Pecola wants blue eyes, dewdrops falling from the sky, eating chicken out of shoebox. Yep, the train to Chicago is too hot, packed in, but we getting off in like 2 stops. Yep, the work up here is not glamorous, but still less hazardous than picking up new crops. Yep, what happens when you move to a new spot? Start wanting what the rest of the group got. Yep, mama never had no work, so I'ma get money and I'ma do it for her. Yep, I'm staying and taking the abuse, cause listen, they still better for me than you. Yep, I'm a hustler. I made it cause I came from nothing, and that's the same thing I'm worried about. Yep, I don't know if I'm right. I just know it's easier being black when you closer to white. Mistakes? We mistook violence for passion, indolence for leisure, recklessness for freedom. Blue eyes for all we need to reach for. Finally got close, now I see them. I realized I am not whole till the religion of my people is back in my soul. Santeria, Allah and the prophet out of Nazareth, the lie says they are incompatible. The lie says joy is financial. The lie says peace comes when you stop battling. The lie says you don't really need your humanity. The lie says vanity, skies turn calamity. When God says we are one family, when joy comes even when the numbers ain't balancing. When police are tearing apart families, the peace that anchors my sanity, the peace that becomes my gravity, even in the gravity of everything happening. I am black, and that is the blessing. Brown eyes forever, no second guessing. Since the beginning. You mean of the earth? No, since the beginning of this event when Taslim spit about resilience, sis. Babylon's lies trying to kill us 24/7 like the weather preacher Moss winter blues. Make me want to leave today like Ted Cruz, but thunderstorms always keep my plane grounded. Adara and all my Muslim fam being hounded. I heard Obi say, yo, it's not your fault. They just throwing salt, but we still slip. Jason said chocolate is how he dipped. God must have dipped me in caramel or lemon bars or something. K-Love dropping 10 commandments. You see how she honor her father? God bless the dead. The living stay here as a witness. Maggie, we can hear you. And yes, we thank God for your spirit, reminding us we worthy, because sometimes I be stressing. But I am black, and that is the blessing. Brown eyes forever, no second guessing. Peace.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Wow. I'm loving like the freestyle and putting everybody in it. It just couldn't get any better, could it? But it did. Just rounded it out. Everybody so dynamic. Thank you for the love. Yes, that was pure fire. Standing ovation for everybody. I'm seeing that. Yes, awesome freestyle. Now we're going to go into a question and answer. You can actually place, if you have some questions, into the question and answer box. If you see that, the key says Q&A. And if all our artists can come back on to the screen, and I will just facilitate. I'll start it off just with some conversation. And audience, please join in. I saw some questions already. Some people, I hope they answered it. Some people were asking about websites and some things going on. I know we had it in the chat box, but just in case you didn't see it, I want to give the artists a chance to just give out their information. So first, I want to start off by saying everybody's amazing. I'm so honored to be amongst you on the stage. I'm so inspired. I have so much work to do, but I'm so inspired to write. So thank you for having me, keeping me up all night tonight, inspired from all your writings. But I want to start first with talking about, let's see, we have a question here. Okay. Someone said, what inspired this event? So I guess who could answer that? But before we go into that, because that's the actual, I guess Sarah, that will be you. What inspired this event?
So many things came together to make this event happen. Last year at Lutheran School of Theology, there was a lot of really great things happening during Black History Month. And I knew that I wanted to do something from our center to do that as well. And then just with everything that's happened with racial disparities and things that have happened over the last year, that the awareness has been so much broader and bigger, and really evaluating ourselves. And Lutheran Church is very white. And so I started to see some things in the work that I did with Muslim counterparts and things like that, that there was some of the same issues happening in Islam that were happening in Christianity, where there's just the separation. The African American community was marginalized in many ways, and so there was a lot of work being done to how to make that better, fix that, do something. And so those things came together. I got an email from Inner City Muslim Action Network that was talking about exactly what Romana Manzoor and I were talking about in wanting to have voices heard, having music, having some sort of sounds of faith, as our friend Shakila Hassan has said, how to bring those things together, and the activism and the words that are transforming, or that are making change happen, and that are powerful. And so I discovered they had a speakers bureau at Inner City Muslim Action Network. We got Kim Schultz in, and she has all sorts of connections too. And it just kept coming together and coming together. And yeah, so I mean, there's so many things I could go on all night, but I want the artists to speak. So yes.
Okay, great. So a question I had, and it's kind of similar to someone asked an audience, but I'm going to just, and I guess anybody, any of you all can answer this. How, I know as far as the artists, we have some artists who are Christian, some who are Muslim, some who don't go by any labels as far as faith, maybe African spirituality, or just their own spiritual practices. How does your spiritual practices or your faith, how does it inform your work as far as being a writer, a poet, a lyricist? And anybody can start talking.
I'll go first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I am unapologetically a Christian, believer in Jesus Christ, the death, burial, and resurrection. He impacts my writing in a way that I think is just pure, honest, authentic. I actually was introduced to poetry through the church, came to the church, and a young man by the name of Brandon Morton was performing spoken word. It's rare that you see men active in ministry. And so it's very important to me. It was important for me to stay involved in the church and to use my gifts in the church. And man, it's just been a huge part of who I am as a young man, and trying to develop my maturity and characteristic traits. So just, man, my faith has a huge role to play in everything I do from a spoken word perspective, and even from the preach word. So yeah.
Okay. All right, Preacher Moss, what about you? You're the only comedian on the panel. And how does your faith influence your work?
It started from a long time ago. Being Muslim really informed my choices in terms of how I really want to engage my community and engage my audiences. And it really, I want to say, really sensitizes and put texture to how you treat people. whether they're Muslim, not Muslim, but more so in a creative space, how you engage with creation. And as I was talking on the show earlier, it's like it really informed, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my sister's keeper? And that became the larger thing. So even doing stand up and things like that, you become a lot more aware of people and the issues and the rituals and what they believe in, and being able to navigate that through the scope of Islam and the Black church overall. Because I converted. I was Christian. I converted to Islam. So there's a space in there, like for we don't really have we have a Black theology, but we don't have like Black theological institutions per se that reflect on that. And it was interesting that as a comedian, Islam really had me look at my whole history, from Malcolm to Martin to Medgar to Elijah Muhammad, and it was like, there's a place in the world for me to be doing things that inform and help my brother and sister. So that's what my comedy has always been about.
Okay. Question for Adara. Your poem, you had two poems. Your poem that you talked about, where you talked about going to the mosque and you're checked at the mosque, you're scanned, so you're feeling safe, and then going to the schools and just people always questioning you being Black, you being Muslim, a woman. Was there any one particular incident that sparked that poem, or what? Because you had a lot of fire and a passion behind that. And where were you at that moment when you wrote that poem, when it came to you?
I think that in a sense, the poem kind of tells a story a little bit in terms of not a lot of people know that I'm Muslim because I don't wear my hijab. And my family, my father was a part of the nation. We were a part of the mosque. And just, I've always grown up just in the Muslim community, but I've also been baptized. I'm a part of the Christian community as well, because through my mom. So I grew up in kind of an interreligious household, but me and my family do claim Islam. So just like having just both those perspectives though, because I did attend church every once in a while, I was baptized. So having that knowledge, but also going to the mosque. And for me, it was a lot of just seeing the very different environments and the preparations for those environments. Of course, there's different practices within those religions, but just seeing kind of the mannerisms and the way that the religions were represented and respected in different aspects. And it's just something that I've always continuously noticed and never really knew how to express. And there's no really particular one time that I've told somebody I'm Muslim and I'm just like, they're just like shocked, or they ask me, why am I not forced to wear the hijab, or like things like that. And it was more of, I wanted the poem to be a rude awakening. I feel like there is kind of this unseen part of like this Islamic culture. And I wanted to give kind of the perspective on that from like an American citizen, and like even outside American citizen, just from a person like undergoing all of like hearing, because nobody knows that I'm Muslim. So just like hearing these conversations that they don't know I'm a part of that demographic, and just kind of like seeing it from the outside looking in. And the poem was just the best way I felt like I could express that.
Okay, great. Is K Love still here? We have a question for you about one thing. Someone asked about how do you come up with topics? And I want to add to that, like, how do you come up with topics? And have you always been just so vulnerable and just giving in your poetry in that way? And if so, like, or even now, where does that come from? What place does that come from to just lay yourself bare on stage like that?
So what I so I do believe that my art form is my reasonable service to God. I do believe that it is my purpose and my calling. And so because it is a purpose and a calling, I treat it like it's holy. In doing so, thankfully, I've been able to build a brand for myself as an artist that is a reflection of who I am as a human as well. And one of the things that I aspire to do just as a human is show up wherever I am as honest as possible. This is exactly who I am. I don't want to encase myself in the prison of pretending to be something that I'm not, and then the covers are revealed. And so keeping that in mind, this life is so dynamic that I don't have to come up with a topic. As I grow and live, it's a million things to write about and speak about that are absolutely real to my life and what I see. And so the topics come from just feeling deeply. You know, I'm an empath. I am a thinker. So I'm constantly just evaluating myself as I go through this life experience, and poems come from that. And as far as have I always been like this? Well, even as a little girl, I got in trouble for being honest. You know, honestly asking questions about things that didn't make sense to me. You know, some adults didn't find that too good. But I've always been a person that wanted to be honest. I've always been a person that was pretty nurturing and loving, and wanted to do what was right and what I actually really felt. So I would say in a lot of aspects, I probably have always been like this, but I think as I get older, I ground myself into it, because I know that it's not only my life that depends on it, it also is the life of the people that hear what I do. Their life depends on it. I liberate them by liberating myself.
Yes. So my next question is to Maggie. Maggie, you have been, I mean, you born into performing activism, and your work is so dynamic and it's so layered with the education. I've seen you put on a show with some jazz, some blues, and tell the history of Chicago. I mean, taking us on just a path, a trip around the world of our legacy. How do how do you formulate that? And someone asked also, like, how would you encourage someone else if they want to write or sing or be an artist? Where should they start?
Wow. Okay. One thing I realized, and I'm very blessed to have just come up with an appreciation for what it was. It's not to say my siblings don't appreciate it, that didn't go into the same thing. It's just that I really gravitated toward it even when I was a little girl, as far as observing my father. And even my dad, my father and my brother, rather, Oscar III, back when I was younger, and just really getting into it and feeling like that's what I wanted to do. So I've always, I guess, like my grandfather on my father's side, Oscar Brown Sr., he would tell us these stories about what it was like when he was in Edwards, Mississippi, what it was like to come up in the Great Migration. And I'm aware of the things that he did once he got here, helping to build businesses, helping to work against the restrictive housing covenants, helping to do things that everywhere I turn and I look into history and I look into things that might inform me, so that I can inform young people, especially. I really, really am, feeling like that's part of what I'm supposed to do. I'm connected to it. I'm connected to it by them. And then the shows that are coming on, anybody been watching TV, TTW, any of this stuff, all the specials, all the little things that they're featuring about Black life and Black, history because of this month. Everything rings. I got poems that whether I write them or Dad already wrote them. There's just so much that speaks to what our experience has been, but also speaks to, ideas of projecting what we want. That's what that fantasy was. When I started out saying, I know I'm blessed because, I'm in ways there was a silver spoon. I was, kin to the most profound, prolific poet. And he always shared it with us, So I came by it honest, I had something, I valued it very much. And I knew that I wanted to step into that. I know this for so many of us, my Black people, my people of color. No, we don't always have something that we can just step into from, like, maybe pass down to the fam. as far as writing, like the things that Kay Love and others will express, it comes from feeling, and introspection and looking at your life, looking at life around you, looking at what's important to you, digging into your faith. And, I don't like to really just think it's just, I'm fortunate I can do that. And then not the stuff, the poetry comes to me. I know some of his dad, but it can happen for anyone, who just seriously just wants to look at themselves, start journaling, and maybe if you feel like you don't have the poetry yet, maybe your journaling will develop and turn into something more lyrical and turn into something more poetic. Yeah. And you have to have a grasp of words. You have to, have words at your access, so that then when the things that you want to think about and express, then you got to figure out the word that rhymes with the last word in that line if you're dealing with poetry. Because yeah, I know a lot of people write poetry that doesn't rhyme, but I didn't come from that school too tough. So anyway, I hope that sort of answers the question.
Great advice. Yes, your father was a master rhymer. Poet. Yes. Next question for Jay Quest. Someone actually posted this question about being a preacher and a musician, a rapper, a poet. How does that coexist and blend together? And I guess it was somebody, it was a reverend. So maybe reverend got some bars. Like, how can they, do that and still be like, okay, I'm a legitimate preacher on Sunday at the church and I'm freestyling and how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I started in hip hop first. I was a child of hip hop first. Before I knew a lyric of the Bible, I knew Snoop Dogg's whole album by heart, every word, And so, like, hip hop was in me. The church was an important institution that really helped my family and stuff. And so I became very indebted to the church and felt like if I wanted to give back to the world, it would be through the church. But it wasn't until a couple months before I started pastoring that I thought I would be a pastor. I knew I was going to be doing music, and that was going to be a part of my identity. And really, I just don't think of it as like two parts of who I am. Like, it's me. Like, some people use this metaphor of putting on a different hat or something. Like, no, I got to be Jay Quest when I'm pastoring. You know what I'm saying? I got to be pastor in everything that I'm doing, father, husband, all of that. But you can't be corny in none of it. And I get that from hip hop, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I can only not be corny when I'm rapping. Like, you can't be a corny pastor either. Because, like, people going to be like, I'm good on this, And there's a lot of corny pastors, who don't, like, reach out to people with the story and with the spirit, And so I try to make that experience every Sunday at University Church like a hip hop experience. And they know folks who go there and they have an idea like, hey, can we try this? That's freestyling, right? I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Sometimes it goes great. Sometimes it doesn't. Anybody who freestyles knows that, right? But like, you got to have the courage to try it. And I think I get that mode of pastoring from being an MC. And I think what being a pastor teaches me in the other direction is that I'm a part of a story, so I use my music to be a part of the story and the testament of not only the great storytellers throughout time, but like Common and Kweli, you know what I'm saying, everybody else. Like I got into faith through the 5% Nation of the Gods of the Earth. So like that was my first entry. Wu-Tang is for the children, you know what I'm saying? So like all of that stuff blends and mixes together in ways that I'm not always able to separate. They'll hear me just start rapping in the middle of a sermon or something. That's who I am,
I love it.
We don't want you to.
Okay, yes, I love it. So I'm going to honor the time. I'm just going to go down the list of all the artists. If you can just tell people just maybe your social media, your website, and maybe just one last, we'll keep it really short, inspirational words, anything you want to put out into the universe, out into this virtual world. So I'll start with Preacher Moss.
I think Preacher Moss had a step off. He's in Texas. So
we can go with Adara. So give out your social media if you have a website and just your last few words.
Okay. These are not necessarily professional pages, but my Instagram is ADARVH_, and my Twitter is ADARVH. I don't have a website. And I just want everybody to know that spreading knowledge and always, okay, my last words are to always be a helping hand. The next generation really needs education, really needs knowledgeable experience, and our experiences to help them with their experiences. So never be afraid to be a helping hand, and always help somebody get to the same table that you're at.
Love it. Great, great, great advice. All right, now next we can move to I guess Jason.
Cool. Let me see. Social media, Instagram at jcut6, JAYCUTS6. Also a barber. I think the link for my church's worship service is in the chat as well via Zoom on Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. Some final words, man. Just, man, peace and blessings. Keep your head up. I know it's been a rough year, been some challenging times, but you are more than equipped and more than capable to handle everything that's going to come your way, man. So peace and blessings, man. And may the peace of the Lord be with you all.
Yes, thank you so much. Now we're going to go to, oh, I didn't know he was here. Even Obi. Okay. Well, Obi, you get a few extra minutes. I want to ask you about your piece was very vulnerable. It was on a topic that I'm sure I saw in the chat many people needed to hear. If you can just also give us your information, but just a little bit about where that piece came from within you, what inspired and sparked that. Was it a particular one situation, or was it overall, just looking at domestic violence? If you can talk more about that.
Well, I'm a spoken word artist with a concentration on advocacy. So I do poetry, but I go around and I talk about those taboo topics, right? There's certain topics that aren't fun to talk about. And if you don't align them with a form of entertainment, nobody's going to voluntarily listen to something that advocates against abuse. So I just feel like every group in the world has a different influence. So you have some people who take their information from a religious leader. Some people take their information from a college coach. Some people take their information from a best friend. And then you have a group of people who listen to art. So I just feel like I'm the voice for those people who receive information in that way. And aligning that with the fact that I'm an advocate, there's just some topics that I think need to be addressed. Anti-abuse is one of those topics. There's a lot of people right now who they're stuck in a funk because they have inherited the idea that what's going on with them is their fault. So I think there needs to be a continuous effort to emphasize that's not the case. Whenever there's a situation and a person is receiving this much discouragement, it's our responsibility to match that discouragement with the same amount of encouragement. If we don't, and the discouragement outweighs the encouragement, we'll lose them to that discouragement, right? So I try to make sure that I put myself in a place to address those issues that I know people are discouraged in. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, definitely. So if you can just give us, how can people contact you and stay in contact and stay connected with you? And if you have any last just inspirational words of encouragement.
Contact info at OBWest is my email address. Info at OBWest, OBBIEWEST. Website is obwest.com. LinkedIn is OBWest. Facebook is OBWest. Name it. Everything's OBWest. So you can get in touch with me at OBWest. Instagram is OBWest. And one last word of encouragement. Every day we live is one day less that you have left, right? There's a thing that has your number of years. You don't know what that number is, but every day you live, that number gets shorter. So you have to take advantage of every day. Understand that procrastination is a form of paralyzation. And at some point you have to relearn how to walk in your purpose. So just take advantage of every second you have.
Thank you so much. Next, we have K Love. If you can give us out your information to stay connected with you, and some also just your last, any closing words that you have. Maybe she had to leave. If she's still here,
I think she may have also stepped in.
Okay, so I will go with Maggie Brown. Just any last words and information.
Well, Obi West, you got your thing all hooked up to I'm MaggieBrown.com, right? And then I also encourage everybody to go to Oscar Brown Jr. with the just jr.org. launched a website, and it just is chock packed full of stuff, right? And let's see what else. Oh, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and Maggie Brown, I guess, you know, it might be a little variation, but you'll find me, right? They're not all like Obi, like everything's the same way. But my daddy always taught, if you want liberation and you can't go along with the game, you got to use wisdom when making your decision. Don't trade your soul just for some fame. A wordsmith, a rhyme. I can't even take the time to expose you to half of what he wrote, but just say, pick any subject of the day, and there's a song on my daddy's I can quote. And Oscar Brown Jr. stood up for civil rights. He didn't sell out for the fame. The man was a genius when it comes to making rhymes. And I'm here to make sure you know his name. That's what I leave you with.
Loving it. Yes. Yes, loving it. So next we have J Quest. How can we stay connected, and just some words of encouragement?
Yeah, I'm at jquest.com, jkwest.com, but also at PureQuest, PureKWest on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Pretty easy to find. Albums are on wherever you listen to music. If you just pop
Lemonade.
Yeah, Lemonade is an album I had put out before Beyonce. Before Beyonce, I gotta say that. I gotta say that.
Okay.
I'm not a biter. I'm not a biter.
Send a note to Beyonce.
So,
Let her know.
She was making videos before she even came out with her thing.
no, it's all good. So and University Church, where Maggie and I are, and on 57th and University. I think what I would leave with, I mean, folks have dropped like some knowledge as parting words. I want to drop something very practical. Artists who give messages like this are not a part of the popular culture. And that's because the folks who make those decisions don't honor this. And it always takes artists who have a fan base and have people who are behind them when they go in those rooms. And then you can make decisions and be able to chart your own destiny as an artist. And I think that's what we all want as artists, is to be able to write the songs that matter to us and to have them shared as widely as any other artist. You know, if you really you go look into Oscar Brown Jr.'s story about his travails in the music industry, and that's something that I'm going through right now. And so all I'll say is that if you're here, like, go follow these folks, like, for real, like, because when they can go in those rooms with more people and say, look at all these people I got with me, you get to make more decisions on your own. You get to have more agency. You get to chart your own course, and get on the kinds of stages where people need to be heard. Everybody here needs to be heard by a lot more people. Don't y'all agree? Yeah. Right. So go and follow them. Go and follow them, for real. It costs you nothing and it benefits every artist here. So go do it. That's it.
Love it. So I hope I covered all the artists to give out your information and your words of encouragement. I am Taslim Jamila, and you can find me across everything under Taslim Jamila. And my website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and it's been an honor.
Spell it, though, because, you know, everybody doesn't know spell it. Just say it.
Oh, TASLEEMJAMILA. So TaslimJamila.com, Taslim Jamila across. I'm so inspired. I'm so honored. Anytime someone even wants me to share, and remember this, my last words of encouragement for everyone. Whatever gift, whatever keeps you up, that stirs in your soul, whether it's art, whether it's science, whether it's into holistic healing. I'm a holistic healing practitioner. I work with, specialize with women. I'm a yoga certified energy healer. And we know about in the church, the laying of hands that my grandma did in Mississippi, the Baptist church. But I say, whatever keeps you up at night, whatever God keeps putting in your heart and your soul, it is not just for you. This is God's gift. You have to give it to the world, because if we don't have what you were put here to do, you're cheating us. So if you're hesitant to do what you were put here to do, remember, it's not just for you, and God will illuminate it and give you more and more as you tap into that, because it is your offering to the world and it comes from God. And what comes from the heart, I always say it goes to the heart. And I felt everyone from the heart this evening, masterful artists, spiritual beings who are vibrating on such a high frequency and blending together to say you can have both. You can be, you know, you can talk about things on a higher frequency energy, about family, about history, about healing, about your fathers, about being vulnerable, domestic violence, about being grateful for who God made you, and you can still flourish and be dope at doing it. So thank you so much for having us and joining us in this legendary event on the virtual stages for the Black Voices spoken word. In the beginning, there was the word, and there will always be the word. And make sure your words are of substance and of healing and of high energy. And we're going to close with our one of the coordinators from behind the scenes from the event, Sister Romana Mansour. It's your stage. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you all. I'm Ramana Mansour. I'm with American Islamic College. And on behalf of all the organizers, I'd like to say that we are so honored and so grateful to you all, the performers, for sharing your art with us in a powerful and meaningful way. Bless you all. Special thanks to Taslim for being the best MC. Thank you, thank you. And thank you to all our guests for attending and bearing witness. Our educational work, which is rooted in faith, is a quest for social justice, for racial justice, for gender justice, for interreligious dialogue. And so we really wanted to uplift the stories that we heard today, and struggle towards critical consciousness, commit to betterment in our society, and continuously act in radical love and justice. So I hope we won't keep confine these discussions to this month alone, including those difficult topics like abuse, but let us reflect, honor, and act every day, every week, every month, and every year as we are one human family. And so final shout out to our supporters, the Interfaith Youth Corps, Inner City Muslim Action Network, Young Chicago Authors, and Silk Road Rising. Y'all support these artists. Thank you so much. Peace and good night. Assalamu alaikum.